18 Liverpool titles. They haven't won it since 1990, but they've got a good chance this season alongside former Liverpool defender Stevie Nicol and former Newcastle goalkeeper Shaka Hislop to talk about Liverpool this season, whether they can get the job done and what might hinder them. So, first of all, how nervous have you been in the last few weeks when they seem to have hit the skids? What are you laughing at?
Because I've seen him.
A scale of 1 to 10. Listen, I've gone from up till Christmas being very confident every time they stepped on the field, consistent from back middle to front, and in control, to a team that now doesn't look as though it's in control, a team that doesn't look as though it's going to score when it goes forward. There's a huge difference between watching your side get chances and think they're going to score to now I'm at the stage where I'm like, they're not going to score, particularly Salah. For some reason, he's lost his confidence, his composure. I mean, you name it, it's gone. He can't get his feet in the right place. So right now, I'm unsure of what I'm getting from Liverpool when they step on the field.
Before I ask you why this has happened, I want to ask Shaq what it's like watching Liverpool games right now with Stevie.
It's putting your own life into somebody else's hands, it feels like. Stevie loses it, like proper. Steve is a proper fan. I mean, a lot of us here talk about following teams and wanting our teams to do well. Steve's a proper fan, and it comes across unbridled.
So why the problems? You mentioned the lack of goals, and midfield hasn't helped because they've not really been helping out the strikers, and the strikers themselves. Salah's got 1 in his last 7. So take a look at this graphic, and what surprises you most? Should any of these be scoring more goals in your expectations for them?
I'll be honest, the only one that really sticks out for me is Naby Keita. I thought that was the reason that he was bought, because he's dynamic in the middle of the park. He fits in with what Klopp wants in the middle, closing the ball down, winning the ball. But when he played in Germany, he got forward and scored some goals. I thought that was the reason behind him signing, or certainly Klopp signing him, but that hasn't materialised. The rest, listen, Lallana's never been 100% fit for, I can't even remember how long. And the other players that you show me there, you don't expect to get goals from them.
The thing for me is, Naby Keita, as good as he was for RB Leipzig, I think he only had 6 league goals last season. So he's not a prolific goal scorer from midfield either. And if you compare Liverpool's midfield this season to last, everybody's doing pretty much the same. Jordan Henderson had 1 goal last season. He hasn't scored this time around. Liverpool have not had huge contributions from midfield for the last 2 seasons. They added in departments that they needed. They brought in a goalkeeper. I thought it was an outstanding acquisition. Van Dijk came in last January. Again, continues to prove his worth. So for Liverpool to even mirror what they did last season, I know they finished 4th, but for them to really challenge Manchester City, you needed a similar return from the front 3. And you're not getting that. Firmino has been great this season, but Mane has been better, certainly in terms of goal scoring than he was last year. Those two have kind of swapped positions. So where things have become unstuck, as Stevie mentioned, is in Mohamed Salah. And I think it's unfortunate because of how good he was last season. When we were talking pre-season, nobody expected Salah to hit those heights yet again. Yet, all of a sudden, he's dropped off, albeit slightly. He's still the 2nd leading scorer in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And now Liverpool aren't looking anywhere near as good as they did back in the last season or the first half of this season.
But let's analyse Salah a little bit here, because I want to bring in someone like Luka Modric as well, and there's a reason for that. Salah was rushed to get back fit for the World Cup after his injury. Whether he should or shouldn't have played, he wanted to. He might not get another chance. That has had a knock-on effect, I think, to his form at Liverpool. And Luka Modric, you and I have done a separate segment for FC about should he stay or not at Real Madrid, and you said they should cash in on him. He's tired. He's done a lot of stuff. And Salah set the bar so high, does he need more help from his teammates, Stevie? Or should he be doing more himself?
Does he? Yes, he obviously needs help. Liverpool are now 2nd in the Premier League. And most of us are pointing the finger at Salah because he hasn't taken the chances that he would have done last year. But it's a team game, and every team that wins the league, regardless of what country it is, has goals and assists from all around the field. You know, Liverpool, the way Klopp has set it up, basically, for goals you're looking at the front three, for assists you're looking at the two fullbacks. I mean, that's how Klopp's team is set up. And if that goes wrong, there isn't anywhere else to go.
I want to look for some positives. When we have a look at the Manchester City graphic and their midfielders and their goals and their assists as well, you take a look at this, compare it to the Liverpool's midfield productivity. Liverpool are still bang in this. They're only a point or two behind City, yet they've had very little coming from their midfield. So that's got to be a positive.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, you look at that and you go back and look at the Liverpool one. I mean, that's chalk and cheese.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
Aye, I beg your pardon.
That's okay.
I thought you were going the other way.
Look, we speak the same language
And
here.
they're only 1 point. They're only 1 point ahead of
Exactly.
Liverpool.
That's the point I'm making.
And that's the thing for me. As Stevie points out, how Liverpool play and how City play, it's two totally different styles. Liverpool have a front three, and their responsibility is to score goals, end of. For Manchester City, you've got, out-and-out striker, be it Aguero or Jesus. You've got two wide men who can tuck in, who can draw and let the wing-backs go on. So there's a lot more movement from them, not just in terms of their wing-backs, but certainly through midfield. And as a result, you see the contributions. But you look at how Liverpool is built, how they have been built over the last 2 seasons. A front three, and then, as Stevie points out, the wing-backs getting forward, and then the midfield generally just as a link between the back and the front, and to make sure and protect those two centre-backs when your wing-backs go forward. Not a lot else is asked of them, certainly not in terms of goal scoring.
Yeah, difference between Liverpool and City. City can score goals through the middle of the park. I'm not talking about individuals that play in the middle of the park. I'm talking about when you play against City, you have to close the middle because they'll try and get through the middle. And when you do that, you leave space wide. Against Liverpool, they don't really come at you through the middle. Little 1-2s on the edge of your box. They don't. Everything's from wide areas. So it's easier to defend against Liverpool than it is City. Obviously, you've got to go and look at last year. Teams were trying to play against Liverpool. That meant there was space in behind and a lot more space in the middle of the park. That isn't happening this year. Everybody's sat in tight.
Liverpool recently have struggled as front runners. Is there less pressure now that they're challengers and playing catch-up?
Listen, there's two ways to look at that. You can say, well, the pressure's off. We're not in the lead anymore. Or you can say, wow, we're dropping like a stone here. I mean, what is it, 9 points in 11 games? So, again, this is down to Jurgen Klopp. This is down to what sort of psychology he plays with his players. You know, are we just 1 point behind, or we've just lost 9 points out of 11?
What would you do?
What would I do? You have to go positive.
Yep.
Klopp, I don't think has any other way of going about it. He's so positive with every single thing he does, but it has to get through. You know, it's one thing to say it. You have to find a way of making your players believe you and going on the field and changing it.
Shaka, you'd rather be ahead in any title race. However, they're only, as Stevie said, a point behind. I've got two people here. Stevie, has won the league title at Liverpool, and you've been close. You have been there, and you've been in the Liverpool role. You didn't quite get it done. Different type of pressure now, isn't it?
It is, and what you're seeing from Liverpool is what I experienced at Newcastle. In my opinion, my experience, it's easier to chase than it is to lead. And that's what you're seeing now, especially when the chaser, as it was up to a couple of weeks ago, is a team that has the experience, that has won it, and understands that pressure. In my time with Newcastle United, it was Manchester United, and we all know about their own record, even early on in the Premier League. Now it's Manchester City. And similarly, a team as good as they are, as exciting as they can be, don't have the experience of winning the title, don't have even individuals within that dressing room, or many individuals in the dressing room, who know what it's like to win a title, who've been there, seen it, and done it. Back in my time, we had the likes of Peter Beardsley, we had David Batty, but off the top of my head, I don't think we had anybody else who won the Premier League or First Division, as it may have been. This was early on in the Premier League. And now you look at Liverpool's squad similarly. I'm not sure who's won the English Premier League title in that dressing room, so understands that pressure, understands what it's like to lead and what it takes.
Just looking ahead to the rest of the season and the pressure that's now on Liverpool, the pressure that's on City. You won 5 titles, and the majority of the titles you won, you knew you were the best team in the league. Do you think the Liverpool players believe that they're the best team in the league, or do they think, City are better than us, we're going to have to do something that, I don't know what it is, but we're going to have to pull something out of the hat?
You don't ever think you're not the best team. You know, you always believe that every time you step on the field, you are going to win. And normally the best teams, when you go on the field and you look around, there are 4 or 5 players that you think, well, on any given day, one of those is going to produce something. I'm not sure Liverpool do that today. Before Christmas, I think they would have. And the problem is they're going on the field and they're looking around and saying, I wonder if anybody's going to do it today, as opposed to, it's only a matter of time, somebody's going to do it. I think City have got the completely opposite thought in their head. They've been what, 11 points behind, they're now ahead. I mean, it's almost like the pressure's off them, I would think. And so it's going to be doubly difficult for Liverpool to catch them.
In terms of feeling that you're the best team in the league, there are a number of teams who feel that way every single time and genuinely believe it every time they step on the field. Now, we have the luxury of sitting here and we can say, well, City have the best squad or whatever. But when you're in it, in that capacity, you genuinely believe that you're the best team in the league. And what the only difference is, and you see this wherever, is you can't afford 5 or 6 players to have an off day against anybody. No matter who you are, City cannot afford 6 players to have an off day against Southampton. You lose. And that is where the pressure then starts to tell. You want, everybody has to bring their A game every single day. Yet somehow you know at times you are going to be a little bit off.
I want to finish with you, Stevie. Shaka mentioned the lack of Liverpool players right now who've won the Premier League. You have. You know what it takes to get done. If Jurgen Klopp came to you and said, look, I want you to come to Melwood for an afternoon, spend time with the players, get them ready for the rest of the season, what would be the main message you'd be sending to the Liverpool players right now?
That's not a question I could answer. You know, the difference between not having it in your back pocket and having it is impossible to explain. There's a certain feeling that comes along with being the Premier League champion or the First Division champion. The knowledge that you've done it, the knowledge that you know and you believe in all the things that you try and do every time you step on the field, because you know it's worked. Yeah. You understand that if you can follow that for 9 months and 38 games, you know at the end of it you're going to win. You don't know that until you've got that medal in your back pocket that it actually works.
Who wins the league, Shaka?
As we sit right now, I'm thinking Man City.
Who wins the league, Stevie?
Man City. They've got to be favourites.
They are. It's theirs to lose.
Man City's favourite.
It's theirs to lose. They've been there and they've done it.
How dare you? That's a disgraceful thing to say.
It's honest. It's an honest thing to say.
My mummy brought me up well. She said, don't tell lies.
It's an honest thing to say.
And I would be lying
if I
turned around and just said, oh, Liverpool's got to win the league. At the moment, City are favourites, no question.
Just don't know how many people want to be sat beside you when Liverpool, on the final day of the season, needing a win to win the title, want to sit and watch it.
Home to Wolves, they should.